anyone have any preference of character types?
Let me, before you think about exactly what you want, let me give you the story, because it may impact your choices here. I'm going to give you the setup for the game and talk about what we're going to be doing today.
Okay.
Hit it live. So this is 30 Days to Save Science City. And in a lot of ways, this is a sandbox game for you guys. I have built a situation. It is full of pieces and complications and different ways that you can go. I have no idea what you guys are going to do. Literally no clue. You're going to have to figure out what you want to do. And that's going to involve you guys probably starting by asking questions and then carrying out operations and probably flipping back to more information gathering and doing things and coming up with a plan for how you want to carry this out. We are using Fate Core. Again, there are lots of flavors of Fate Core, so one of the things you may find is I'm not handling Fate things maybe a little bit like you're familiar with. If that happens and we're in a scene, feel free to stop me when the scene's done to say, how are you handling this, or what are you doing with this, or ask questions about that. Just I want to make sure you guys know that we play a little bit differently. A lot of people do things in different ways with Fate, so I want to make sure that everybody's sort of on the same page. We're using Roll20. Primarily, what I've got here is the map page, just to show the outline of Science City. We can write on that if we add aspects to the city or so on. If we need to go to a fight map, I can pull up a tab and we can set that up real quick, or we can do it abstract depending on how the situation goes. So that's the basics of it. A lot of you are familiar with Roll20, so I don't think that should be too big a problem. One thing I do want to talk about just briefly, and it's something that I picked up when I ran at Gen Con this last time. I ran for Games on Demand. And one of the techniques that they talk about is something called the X card. The X card is essentially the idea that if we hit something that you guys are uncomfortable with, a topic, an idea, behavior, you're welcome to send me a note essentially in the comments. You can either whisper that to me or say, you know, X card. If we get to that material, we'll just move past it. I know that sounds a little odd, but I actually want to give a concrete example of that. I have a group that I've been playing with for years, and we had yet another fantasy session, and afterwards one of my players, a guy I've played with for 10, 15 years, he came to me and he said, "Lol, if you have any more spiders in the game, I'm going to freak out." He literally, I didn't realize, he was severely phobic about spiders, and we had gone through a sequence of that, and it had really actually creeped him out seriously. And it was one of those things where he hadn't felt comfortable saying it at the table, you know, to change it out, and I had to figure that out. And it was somebody I'd played with for a long time. So I just want to make it clear that if there is something that is bugging you, feel free to say. If we need to stop, we can and talk about something, we can do that. Just want to put that out on the table. The game is a superhero game, but it's set in this odd world that a group of RPG geeks built. It is the 1930s in a world which has suffered from alien invasions, which has super beings. There are superheroes, super beings, people have superpowers, and then there are mutants. Mutants have superpowers as well, but they also have visible signs on them, visible afflictions. So think pre-World War II, but with a kind of a gloss of a World of Tomorrow, dirigibles, and you know, they've got radio sort of at going FM and AM. They've got transatlantic television. They've got two-way wristwatch radios for the police. Sort of that mix of Dick Tracy and other kinds of just slightly ahead tropes. So you guys Do you want me to give the actual sort of briefing of what your objectives are first? Or do you want to pick your characters first?
I'd like to hear the briefing. Like
Okay.
what's the
let's-
situation that
All
we're
right.
in?
So I'm going to give you the briefing. This is a very quick rundown of what's going on. So all of you are potential members for the major supergroup, which is currently known as the Transatlantic League. It's a group that's mentioned in the timeline as sort of the premier supergroup. You guys have not been accepted as members yet, but it's sort of the equivalent of the High Justice League for the world. So this is something you want to join. You've been accepted preliminarily, but you'll be brought in and told that they are going to give you a mission that is essentially a little bit off the books in some ways. Before you can join the League, they have something that needs to be done. And here's the deal. Lady Paladin, one of the members of the Transatlantic League, will come in and give you this briefing. She has a rudimentary version of PowerPoint, probably on an overhead projector, you know, with clear laminate things that are done there. She will tell you 2 years ago, the League received a message from a supervillain by the name of the Iron Gale. And the Iron Gale gave a simple message to the Transatlantic League, and that was that they had until the 15th of August to clean up Monaco. At that point, Monaco was a kind of hive of scum and villainy. A lot of fallout from various European espionage groups, as well as the recent Spanish Civil War, and a sort of a neutral ground where a lot of supervillains and superbeings had assembled. The Transatlantic League ignored the message from the Iron Gale, and on August 15th, an earthquake struck the city. And tens of thousands were killed, destroyed most of the national infrastructure, and devastated the region. The Transatlantic League is still cleaning up from that. A few days ago, the Transatlantic League received another message from the Iron Gale. They've been trying to find this supervillain for a number of years, but they haven't had any success. The Iron Gale gave them another ultimatum. They had until October 31st to clean up Science City. Science City is an American city, offshore. It's a major port, shipping locale, industry, important trade. It's a city was originally founded on ideas of progress and technology, but has certainly fallen in recent years. It's pretty much notable for a level of corruption and being run by gangsters. Transatlantic League is caught in a difficult position. On the one hand, they don't want to be seen as giving in to supervillain terrorism. They don't want to be seen as abiding at the whim of the Iron Gale. On the other hand, they can't take the chance that the Iron Gale will strike. So because you are not yet members of the Transatlantic League, they want to send you in to clean up the city. And there'll be a kind of a pause, and she'll say, we will offer you resources, we will offer you assistance. You can decide whether you want to go in above board, whether you want to go in quietly, however you wish to do that. That is up to you. It is your decision on how you wish to handle that. Obviously, brutal murders are out of the question, but you will have your resources and powers at your disposal to figure out what the situation is and how you can best do it. We're hoping that a token gesture, that some work to clean the city up, that some progress may curtail the Iron Gale's whatever sort of means of destruction she has to bring to bear. Questions?
Yeah. Is this West Coast or East Coast City?
East Coast City. So imagine it being that sort of uncertain zone that Gotham is in geography of the DC universe, where it's somewhere between New York and Boston, that kind of New England East Coast area.
And this actually appears to be an island city.
Absolutely, yes. You'll see that from the map that there are, at this point, 3 major bridges that cross over to the city. They're currently in the process of working to build a couple of tunnels under the bay out. They also have dirigibles. The city itself has a pretty sophisticated mass transit system involving streetcars and elevated trains. Well, we'll come back to questions. So what I want to do is, with that in mind, with that set of objectives in mind, and given the 8 characters that are up there, I want people to pick who they are, and we'll kind of look at that. And I think to go ahead and do this, I'm going to have everybody roll, if you would, using Roll20, and just roll a d20. And we'll actually do picks from high to low on that, if that's okay with you guys.
Sounds good.
Wow. Oh,
Okay.
got a roll off here.
Yep. Right away, roll off.
Ha ha ha!
Did I roll? Did it show? No.
There we go. Second attempt. Okay. All right. And Richard, I don't think we got your roll yet.
No, it's slash roll
Slash roll d20.
d20 or 1d20.
Either way, it'll. I think it'll. We'll do it either way.
Doesn't seem to be rolling for me.
Hmm.
But it did roll. I can roll the fate dice.
Okay.
That is weird.
Here, you know, we'll roll the d20 for you. So if at least you can
That's
roll
fine.
the
Yeah.
fate dice. Okay. So it looks like that the first pick is going to be Michael.
Okay. I'll be the scientist.
Okay. So scientist is taken. And then I believe second pick is William.
Let me go for the speedster.
Okay, speedster. So scientist, speedster, and then the 11. The next one is Richard.
The shadow.
Shadow. And then Chris.
I'll take the blaster.
Blaster. And finally Suresh.
I can't seem to open Brick's sheet. Is it meant to be empty? Because I didn't get to look at it.
Let me see here if it.
Yeah, it didn't have anything in it, it seemed like.
Under the character sheets, it doesn't show anything when you open the.
Yeah, when you open it, it's just empty.
Okay.
Everything's on the second tab character
This-
sheet. If you didn't
yeah.
try that.
Well, I didn't get that.
I only have bio and info. Oh well.
Oh,
Yeah, I just did the bio.
you're not seeing a second.
Nope.
Okay. Why is it not showing? That is very strange. I don't know why it wouldn't be showing.
Never mind. I think I'll just pick another one then. Who have been taken already?
So scientist, speedster, shadow, and blaster. So is everybody having the same problem of not being able to see the actual character sheet on the second tab?
Mine's showing. I got
I
mine.
can.
Yeah, I only had that problem with the brick.
Okay.
Yep, only with brick.
Let me go back to the brick and let me edit it. Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
see it. There we go. There's a second tab adjustment. So Scientist, Speedster, Shadow, and Blaster.
Mhm.
Yes, feel free to rename. Dr. X, the Scientist. So what's everybody going to rename their characters? We've got Dr. X for the Scientist.
I may come up with something better.
Okay, no, fair enough.
But
I think I'll take the doppelganger.
Okay, awesome.
Oh man.
Where do you want us to put a rename on the character sheet, or?
Yeah, if you go on the character sheet, if you just edit that on the...
There it is. Okay.
About the Phantom.
Okay.
Generic, but
That guy. Okay. And Dr. X, Shadow.
so let me ask you a question. I see you guys have your names under your pictures there. How do you get that?
Oh, if you go over to Hangout Toolbox, over off to the side, click on that, and the first tab, essentially with the little circle with the head in it, is called Lower Third, and that allows you to put a name and a subtitle and turn that on. It should allow you to add that in.
Toolbox.
Shockwave.
I'm sorry, which tab?
Oh, so if you go over off onto the left-hand side, the Hangout Toolbox is one of the
Right.
apps.
Right,
You
right.
hit that, and then the first tab at the top under Hangout
Back
Toolbox
behind?
is called Lower Third.
Yeah.
Right. So, the way I've done this when I do operational games like this, games where the players are put in a situation, we'll typically do a set of preliminary questions. If you guys want to ask some general information, then I'm going to ask you about what you want in terms of resources. And you guys may wish to talk amongst yourselves about how you want to approach the situation, and it probably seems to be some debate about that. And what I'm going to do is, when I do the question and answer thing, is essentially I'm going to go to a person, you get a question, I'll give you an answer to it. If it's something that requires research, I might actually have you make a roll at that point. I'm going to do a gumshoe style approach, which is if you ask a question, I'm going to give you some basic information. A roll will be used to generate essentially additional information or further details on that. And essentially, we'll do kind of a once around on sort of the starting questions. details that you want to have before you go in, that kind of thing, and we'll do that once, and we'll see where we're at. So, Chris, I'm actually going to start with you. What's your starting question?
Have any of us been to Science City before?
That's entirely up to you guys. I'm going to assume that if you have contact skill of at least +1, then we'll assume that you were picked because of your experience with Science City. So, to answer your question, then, if you have contacts of at least 1, then yes.
Okay. And I do.
Mike?
Do we know who the big... Right, where our task is to go clean up Science City. Are there any big super criminal players making headlines in Science City right now?
Okay, do you have contacts as skill, right? On your sheet?
I don't have contacts.
Okay, well, let's just have you make a standard fate roll. I'm going to give you some basic information, and we'll see what else you pull up here.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
So, you do know that there are actually... each one of the neighborhoods is split off on this map because there's probably one power group that has sort of major influence there. 2 of the groups that have made headlines that are sort of big is working in the Crucible area is a group called the Throck Syndicate. And they're very classic old school mob. The other group that's made headlines in recent years, sort of above board, is a more recent, high-scale organized crime group that's calling itself Oriflamme. And it actually operates up in Radium Heights. Throck is very much old-school kneecapping. Oriflamme seems to be much smarter, much more careful.
They sound French. They probably have mimes.
Yes, the mimes and sort of European imports, better chocolate, that kind of thing. All right, Richard, what's your question? And if you want to expand or follow up on another person's question, feel free to do that.
So there's 2 major, let's say, gangs.
To answer, well, just let me clarify. There are more than that, but the 2 that make headlines are those 2. So what's your question?
Do we have any scientists in the area that might be friendly to us, but not necessarily, goody-goody?
You will be given a chance to choose that as one of your resources. You guys will be given essentially going to be able to prioritize 4 things: agents, contacts, resources, and what was the last thing on my list here? Cover. So one of the things you guys will be able to do is ask that you have that you prioritize contacts, and then you could say that the contacts are on the science group, that kind of thing. Does that seem reasonable?
Yep.
Okay. Suresh?
Let me think. What is the general outlook of the community of the city towards superheroes or superpowered beings?
Well, one of the things is that they haven't had a local superhero for several years. There was a local superhero group led by a guy named the Watchman. He operated here till about 5 years ago when he vanished. He and his whole team of superheroes just absolutely vanished. No one's heard from them in about 5 years. And no one's taken up the mantle of fighting crime in a superhero way here because it is such a dangerous city. So they're not familiar with having supers around. They have a history of having some positive reaction to them. So generally, at the very least, there's no immediate negative reaction to superheroes. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I guess, but what do they feel about the guy just up and leaving? Do they have like any hard feelings or anything?
No, there's sort of he was a long-term important crime fighter in the city, so his vanishing hasn't left any bad feelings, especially because he hasn't reappeared elsewhere, so people suspect that he got killed off.
Oh, okay.
William?
This almost seems like a lame question, but
Sure.
are we, in our initial information that we got, do we know what the Iron Guild looks like? His former MO last time he struck.
The Iron Gale is probably the major supervillain currently facing the Transatlantic League. Essentially, effectively, the Doctor Doom. She's a mysterious figure. When she struck at Monaco, she used a earthquake machine of some kind. They still don't know exactly how she did it, but was able to create seismic effects in the city. They don't believe that she's in Science City, and in fact, the efforts of the Transatlantic League, while you guys are doing this, will be directed to trying to track her down.
Okay.
Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys want to discuss plans, or should I do another round of questions?
And she's considered a supervillain, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's saying, hey, clean up the cities. Is she some, I don't know, some kind of aberrant type thing, you know, honorable, but...
They don't know. She killed
Or
so
is
many
she
people
trying
in
to
Monaco.
eliminate the competition?
It may be a possibility as
Sure.
well. Transatlantic League can't take the chance.
And when she says clean up, she's meaning clean up the crime or anything like environmental issues?
They're
Or just
given
as
the
vague.
1930s, they're taking it the pretty literal clean up
Okay.
the crime.
Okay.
Well, I'll do another question. We'll come back to you, Mr. Nolan. Chris, do you have another question?
These two gangs that you mentioned before, have they been fighting each other over territory and all that business?
Why don't you make a contacts roll for me?
Okay.
They have not directly butted heads, primarily because there are other areas between them.
Okay.
What you do know is that Oriflamme has been working to expand out of Radium Heights, which is a very upscale area. There are groups operating in Highmark and Four Points that they've been clashing with. Throck Syndicate is actually more openly kind of trying to push back against groups that are pushing from the north, from Tomorrow Way. And that's a whole nother can of worms there. What you will kind of, looking through the reports and so on, it does look like there's at least some criminal activity of organized nature there in Tomorrow Way. So not directly fighting each other, but it does look like each of these groups is certainly clashing with their neighbors.
Got it.
Mike?
What are the stakes for these groups? What is it in in Science City that is the big prize that people might be after?
So probably the most important sort of sector of the city is the ports, and they have essentially the best port setup along the East Coast right now. And over in the Crucible in particular, they've got a lot of shipbuilding industry. There's a lot of money coming in that way. There's a lot of nervousness about the next 10 years, and so you've got a lot more nations, both the United States and foreign, doing orders for shipbuilding. And in fact, that's probably the biggest thing that's going on right now is a lot of money flooding in on that. A lot more industrial construction, dry docks and areas that wouldn't have been given over to ship construction are currently being dedicated to that. So armaments, shipbuilding, all of that, very important. That's the big stake. Richard?
Where's our base, our HQ?
You will have the ability to choose where you want to set up. They can essentially provide you with a safe house, and depending on how you prioritize resources, you'll have more or less equipment at your disposal. So you can choose if you want to have something as a more open base, saying that you guys are a new superhero team, or if you want to have something that's more undercover for you guys going in. It's going to be up to you. Does that seem reasonable?
Sounds good.
Okay. Suresh?
Has there been any recent headlines that could have triggered this clean up the city job we are supposed to do?
Oh, interesting. Make a contacts roll for me.
Thanks. My contacts is
one of the things that's striking is that going through the papers and talking to people and looking over is it does seem like there has been a spike in crime. That there have been more gangland slayings. It seemed like there have been more open clashes. The sense that you have is that the city itself is kind of a powder keg. That right now things are kind of at a tipping point, and it could be that might break out into more open, destructive warfare. That's one thing. The other thing is that there are definitely reports of a little more suggestion of some superhumans in the city, not superheroes, but in fact super beings operating there. There are rumors of an underground group of mutants, essentially keeping to the shadows. And there's also a couple of suggestions that a supervillain crime team known as the Steel Hand may have been spotted in the city. Does that seem like a reasonable answer? I'm going to assume it is. Okay. William. Do we lock up? Oh, fuck. Okay, well, let's hope that comes back here. Let me... Well, Fuddruckers. Okay. Okay, let me pull up the chat window. God damn it. Ugh. God damn it.
A couple of.
Well, that was annoying.
Hmm.
Sorry, my internet. My internet
We just-
decided
Hmm.
to just stop randomly.
We carried on without you.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
We were actually talking about if we should be open, like a public team or not, and we're considering the concept of like actually having 3 of us maybe be there as the new watchman or something, and then have actually a couple of other members be covert.
Agents.
That could be easily done. Suresh, are you back too?
Pardon?
And you're back too. I'm sorry. I think I had been. I got cut off when I was talking with you.
Yeah, you got cut off when you're saying something about super people which are not heroes or something like that.
Yes. So let me answer that, and then let me come back to your discussion. The supervillain group is a group known as the Steel Hand. They essentially are an East Coast smash and grab supervillain robbery team that have been seen a couple of times in Science City.
I'm sorry, can you repeat their name?
The Steel Hand.
I will be
So
right.
basically, gang-related violence and the steel hand,
Right.
which are the headlines.
William, let me get your question, and then let's come back to this suggestion that you guys made about how you want to approach things, and we'll get you to choose your order of priorities for things.
I don't think you covered it, and I don't know if it was just implied, but I wanted to clarify if we know the gangs and the mobs are there, but is there also, almost like Gotham, is there the dirty cops, the government? Do we know of who in the political forces are involved, or anyone has their hands dirty?
Sure. Make either a lore or a contacts roll.
Okay. 40.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, they're pretty corrupt.
Okay.
The police department is pretty corrupt. What it is there was a battle about 10 years ago over sort of local political authority versus police authority, and it's resulted in the police very much aiming for autonomy, and as a result, a lot of corruption across the board. The police commissioner is pretty notorious for that, and local cops are kind of considered universally on the take. It's considered just the way things are done. With your role there, you will have heard that there may be at least one squad within the police department, sort of a quiet network of more dedicated police officers who are actually attempting to fight back against that corruption. And you can kind of get a lead on that. So let me ask you guys this. You've got four things to prioritize from the highest to the lowest. You guys can have agents, meaning boots on the ground, people that will be sent in to assist you. You can have resources, essentially money, supplies, tech, that kind of thing. You can have cover, meaning that they will give you alternate identities, background, that kind of thing that you guys can make up as you wish on the fly. Or contacts, meaning that they've got people who are locals who are, at your disposal. These are all resources that will get used up throughout the course of the game, and essentially, what do you guys think there, and how you want to order those?
I would probably go with contacts first, just because we need more info.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say the same thing.
Okay.
Contacts. Do these have like stress boxes or something?
Exactly. So imagine that we'll put contacts as essentially a +4. It has essentially 4 stress boxes that can get used up. What would you want as the next one?
I'm sorry, can you repeat? There's 4 of them, right?
Yep. Agents, resources, cover, and contacts.
I'd go with. My inclination is to go with resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff,
Yeah, I'm
stuff
going with
and
that.
money.
Because if we do have to buy out some officials, I'd prefer not to.
All right.
Yeah, or we need a thing.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So resources, putting that at that high end, also implies that you guys can have essentially a well-equipped base that you guys can get into and out of quietly. That it has some entrances. Essentially, we'll assume it's an old Transatlantic League safe house that's deep undercover, so you have access to that. So imagine that you have a base.
Okay.
What next then between agents and cover?
I would say, I mean, cover might be the last because everybody was discussing that some.
Yeah, they all wanted to go loud.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's put cover last.
Yeah.
So we'll put agents and then cover. So agents means that you guys have at your disposal essentially probably a good dozen trained secondary helpers for the league. That means technician, staff, private eyes, that kind of thing, that will have gone in ahead of you guys. And then cover means that you guys can use that if you need to pull up an identity, you know, go in secret ID or set up a backstory for yourselves. So I hear that we're going to be split then between a public face and a private face. Who is the public face and who is the private face in this then?
I'm definitely in the public.
Okay.
Yeah, Chuck would be too.
Dr. X will be public.
So Dr. X public. And Johnny Summer.
I realized that was supposed to be the hero name, so Johnny Speed.
Oh, Johnny Speed. Okay. So
Phantom will be private.
Phantom private. Okay. And I assume that guy is also going to be private.
Well, I'm a shapeshifter, so I can essentially play both if I want to.
Oh, good point. All right. And Shockwave, I assume.
Is the public team, yeah.
Okay. Before we go any further, I should check and see, does anyone have any questions about your powers or abilities or anything on your sheet?
Let me see.
Mine seems pretty straightforward.
Okay.
How about the aspects?
Beg your pardon?
Oh, we only have 3 aspects, right?
Yes. So that's a good point. You guys have essentially the room for 2 more aspects that you can come up with on the fly. When you do that, we'll use the atomic robo approach. You can come up with an aspect, and you'll get a fate point when you do that.
Oh, okay.
On mine, pretty straightforward, but the drawback, burnout. How is that meant?
So imagine that the drawbacks in your character sheet essentially are a trouble aspect for your power. So if you want to invoke that to get yourself a fate point at the end of the scene, you can do that.
Okay.
Any other questions
And,
about that? Nope, go on.
Oh, I was just saying I'm reading a little bit of Beast in my.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's riffed off of a build that somebody did for Beast off of the Fate Course thread. All right, so we're going to assume we're going to kind of move you guys forward, and we'll assume that you guys are, as of October 1st, you are in Science City. It is October on an East Coast city, rain coming in, the sort of the cool winds. It is a grimy city. It is very much the opening to Batman, the animated series, with the police in their uniforms and the dirigibles over the city. Definitely, as you guys flew in, you would have seen just the vast numbers of ships in the shipyards and the docks and ports. It is a major maritime center here. But you also would have seen parts of the city that clearly are not in nearly as good a shape as others. For example, 4 Points is in the middle there, and it does not look like it's in great shape. The Crucible has that look of worn down industrial. And in fact, kind of as you go from east to west on that map, you definitely have the sense that it goes from the poorer parts of town to the wealthier parts of town, with the Lock, Highmark, and Radiant Park being certainly the wealthiest. Let me ask you guys this: which part of town do you want to have your base in?
Is that a big park or in 4 Points?
So in 4 Points, that is a major park. That whole area up there is a park, and then there is a reservoir there in the center.
Could we almost go buried in the reservoir?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think being centrally located might be a good idea.
Okay, so we will say the base is in the reservoir.
It's a Robinson Park.
Robinson Park. Well, that's all from the old thing. So the text is to be ignored for the purposes of this, because I couldn't scratch all of that out. Yeah, you will see this is a DC Heroes map of Gotham. So we will assume that will give you then access to transit lines that go across. It'll give you access to the waterways that run through the city. It's decently set up. The base has vehicles in it. In terms of monitoring devices, probably nothing like that, since that's not the tech of the time, except if you want to plant bugs or something of that sort. Television is present, but it's still very, very high end, and it's a black and white, staticky appearing. So let's assume you guys get set up there. Agents are in place. Bank account is positioned. What is your sort of first order of business? Do you want some more investigation here? Do you want to go ahead and set yourselves up to present yourself as a superhero team right away? How do you want to approach this?
Well, I think some of the... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say some of the discussion was have the public face get out there so it draws attention from the people in the background. So it might be good to set us up, announce our presence.
Okay.
That would also probably draw some fire from various targets.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
our presence.
that's why I wanted to
somebody
have
to
a
smack
public-
up.
Okay. So who wants to be the person who takes the lead on kind of organizing that? So imagine that this will be, if you want to set this up, you're attempting to either do kind of a a deceive or a provoke, or even empathy kind of role, kind of building a positive aspect for yourself, or trying to draw out things. So who wants to take the lead on that?
I will.
Okay.
I'll do it as a
All right.
do it as a provoke on the cowardly, superstitious criminals.
Okay. So describe to me what you're calling yourselves and how you want to present yourself, and the team of 4 that you have.
What about the new Watchman? Since that's a ties to the city, it might raise some alarms.
Okay. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
New Watchman. All right. So why don't you go ahead and Chris, why don't you make that provoke roll for me?
Okay. Because I'm just trying to get the attention of assorted criminals. Oh, well, that could be worse.
All right. So we'll imagine that in the first couple of days, you guys will go and present yourselves as the new Watchman. You'll do kind of a showy arrival, announcing your presence there. That guy, what's your superhero cover identity that you're using for yourself?
Let me see. I will. Oh, a different name, huh?
Yeah.
I'll just call myself Jack.
Okay. Which actually is ironic, given that one of the previous Watchmen was a guy named Jack Frost. So that actually fits there. Are you, Chris? Are you going to kind of present yourself as the leader of the team? And you're Shockwave, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. And you give a kind of a rousing speech about your trying to draw out the criminal element and how they should be afraid. Anything else you want to do for the spin on that?
I definitely do not want to say anything about the Iron Gale or any of that business.
Okay. What's the aspect you want to create? How do you want to describe that?
There's a new sheriff in town.
Oh, okay. I like that. All right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So find my text.
Yeah, I'm kind of picturing in my mind some sort of public, public speech in the town, in Times Square, where, you tell the troublemakers to get out of town or be warned, and we're all doing superhero stunts, and I'm in my bestial aspect, taking a literal bite out of crime.
All right.
Taking a bite out of a phone book or something like that.
Okay, so we started with you, Chris, there on that sort of operations. The first thing you guys do is establish yourself as sort of as a new sheriff in town. I'm going to do a little bit like we did before, where I'm going to kind of move in a once around and ask sort of what you're spearheading or what you're doing or how you want to shift things in that same order that I did before. So I'm going to come to you, Dr. X. You guys have established that early on. What is your next step here?
I think I would certainly be spearheading investigation. So I'd be having the agents go out to the different districts in the city to pound the ground and give me reports back on what's going on. Okay. And also I picture myself sitting at some sort of giant World War II era Memex machine, scanning the news reports and everything for crime patterns and doing some the pre-internet equivalent of Google searches.
Okay.
To see what's going on. So I'd be doing the investigation type stuff.
Why don't you make an investigation roll for me?
I shall investigate.
Ooh, very nice.
Investigate like a boss.
Absolutely. All right, Dr. X. What are the 3 questions you want answered?
Let's start with who is the biggest threat?
Who is the biggest threat? That's a very interesting question.
Not to us, but to the welfare of Science City.
To the welfare of Science City. When you talk to people about that, when you kind of get the word on the street, it surprises you because it keeps coming back to not either one of the sort of the criminal organizations, but actually a corporation. It comes back to Zinkman Industries.
Oh.
Zinkman Industries, and I've got caps lock on, so it sounds like I'm sort of shouting. So Zinkman Industries operates out of Tomorrow's Way. They've got an almost sort of Disneyland-like complex there of factories and research facilities and so on, and sort of corporate town there. And they've got a heavy security force. They have their fingers in every pot, and the CEO is a woman named Zolana Zinkman, and she is regarded with sort of fear and mistrust by lots of people. There are rumors that she crossed swords with the Watchmen years ago several times, but nothing was ever proved. When you check court records, there's lots of cases brought against Zinkman that vanish. Witnesses disappear. People change their statement. Accidents occur. All of that. So that's the general feeling about who is the most dangerous. What's your second question?
Well, and besides that, because she has an alliterative name, that is proof of guilt.
Exactly.
Right there. Okay, the second question is, oh, let me think.
Sure.
Gosh, I have to think of 3 questions. Oh my!
You rolled so well, you've got to do all 3.
What? Where can we do the most good?
Where can you do the most good? It seems to you that define good for me. Easy to clean up, or what?
No, I guess what action would create the biggest benefit for Science City? Or does that amount to who is the biggest threat? It just asked a different way.
Yeah. What benefit in terms of you guys looking good, or
No, I think I'm being very altruistic here, so I'm not worried how we come out looking.
Maybe a reduction of crime.
Yeah, what would do the most to reduce crime?
Probably the group that is causing sort of the most chaos actually is one caught in the middle, and that is the essentially the Sundown Boys that are there in Grey Cross. They're a loose network of criminals that work for hire for other groups. They get around a lot, but they're kind of loosely organized, which means that nobody's really been able to roll them up. But they are the most sort of loose cannon, and probably if you kind of go back through to your analytical assessment of sort of sheer damage that's caused, they're the top ones. So busting them up might be actually the best thing for the city right now in terms of crime reduction.
Okay, and I guess the third question would be, where could we find unexpected allies?
Where could you find unexpected allies? That is a very good question.
I'll change it if it's too good.
No, I mentioned before the Mutant Underground.
Okay.
Pulling more on that thread, you'll see that in fact that comes out of a place called Stravinsky House. It was a asylum/sanitarium that people sent mutants to a number of years ago. It got shut down because of abuses, and that ended up leaving a group of essentially what they call the orphanage, is a group of mutants that operate there in 4 points behind the scenes. They're not a particularly heavy criminal group. They're kind of a teen street gang group dedicated to helping each other out and preserving their own.
Okay.
So they're probably the group that might have the most power, and played right could be brought over to the good side.
Okay. Well, I don't abide. I just hold no truck with mutant abuse. That's
Okay.
wrong.
Richard, what's your plan in this?
Well, I'm gonna be out in the field, I think,
Okay.
in disguise. Maybe something simple like a reporter, and I'm gonna try to meet our contacts. But I wanted to get, because I'm seeing like really 3 threats here. In the police, Sinkman, and the Sundown Boys. So, I mean, maybe I'll ask the group. I mean, should we focus on all 3, or maybe focus on one of them, or maybe do more investigation to really find out who's the worst out of all those?
I'm of the mind that the Sundown Boys may not be the top of the food chain, but it might be the quick results fast and show that we're making a difference kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Right. And
So
from a
so
metagame perspective, it seems like we're not going to clean up Science City in 4 hours.
Yeah.
We might be able to do it in 30
Right.
days.
yeah, it's too
But we
messy.
might just want to pick 2 things.
So I can access our contacts there. They're based off Great Cross,
Gray Cross. Yep.
right? Okay. Maybe we can. I can go in there, on the ground, and maybe find more information on them, like their hideouts, their top guys, who's their leader, who's their second in command, and so on. Their hierarchy.
That seems reasonable. What skill do you wanna use? What's your tactic for this?
All right.
Got a couple of different options.
Yeah. Because I think I have some stunts here. Otherwise. So
And imagine you were describing this pretty abstractly. So
these guys are criminals. I'm sure we have a lot of criminal contacts in there.
Mm-hmm.
In that area.
Okay.
So if I can, try to use burglary instead of contacts to really, talk to all those folks, all those, our contacts there who are, not the nicest of guys.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know, drop some money here and there, and try to get a little bit more info on that gang.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to let you make that burglary roll. We'll say that to use it. We'll put a stress on the contacts, but we'll have you make that burglary roll, and let's see what you can get from that.
Let's see. Hello.
There we go.
Did it roll?
And what's your burglary?
My burglary, I believe it's a +3.
Oh yeah, so 4.
+4.
All right.
Okay.
So describe to me what your powers look like when you're using them.
Sorry.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Did I get the right person? Yeah. Okay. I think my guy would probably be more of a skilled guy. Oh no, I can turn invisible. You know what? I think I pulled up the wrong guy there. I'm sorry, my bad. Let's say that it's a contacts of +2 because I think I pulled off the wrong person. I pulled that guy instead.
Oh no, your burglary is a +3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how describe my powers?
Just describe when you use burglary to walk through walls.
I would think he would just dim, just become like a living, almost a living shadow. I mean, not necessarily a shadow, but just dim. Just maybe people don't see him correctly, and he just kind of passes by people, and you just don't notice him.
All right.
And then maybe it's not flashy.
So you're fading into the woodwork, moving around through here.
Right.
Again, gray cross, dense area. Imagine that we've got kind of rundown clubs. It's sort of the lower middle class area, and you're following up, talking to contacts that you've got some names, criminal things like that, and they're giving
Like
you people
bars,
yeah,
clubs, yeah.
and they'll give you the sense that there are a set of brothers. The